We are back, and it's time for a semi-recurring segment, Everybody Votes. Basically, I put out a poll on social media and see how the votes fall. This time I went pretty straightforward with it. How would you grade this Nintendo Direct? So, Camille, first I want to throw it to you. A, B, C, or D? How would you grade this Nintendo Direct?
I would say an A. I
Mhm.
think, there was a lot that we went through. Obviously, the episode's a little bit longer than usual. Um, but I didn't think the pacing was like, oh, okay, I'm getting tired of this. All right, like, let's keep it moving. Like, I never had that moment. And there were real hits. Like, you have Mario and Luigi, Brothership. You also have Donkey Kong Country in there. I mean, and then delivering on Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. I
Mhm.
think that was one thing no one really truly saw we would see gameplay out of it, and that it would be coming out next year. So it definitely takes the cake as like a top tier Nintendo Direct.
Yeah, I think I'm in that same camp as you. Like, I mean, Mario and Luigi, like you could if you squint real hard, you could say we got a Mario, a Zelda, a Donkey Kong, and a Metroid game,
Yeah.
which is just a wild lineup, especially since they're all theoretically coming out in the next like 8 or so months.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like this kind of seems like a lineup you would get for like coinciding the Switch 2,
Hmm.
right? Like
Not a dying
not
console.
not like the end or like the sunsetting of the Switch, right? So
Hmm.
that's like to me it's like going into the Nintendo Direct, a lot of people were wondering, well, if they're very specific on this, focusing on what's coming out the later half of the year, early next year, or with some teases to next year as well. What can they really deliver? And they're not talking about Switch 2, right? So
Hmm.
they delivered and caught even the leakers and the people that try to spoil the news for fans off a lot. There were a lot of surprises in this one, and they should be really proud on this direct.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were like, okay, this is, I mean, myself included. I've said this. Like, the first half of this year did not inspire a ton of confidence. It was like, there were a few spin off titles like Princess Peach Showtime, which kind of were middling reception. But then we got like a bunch of remakes and remasters. And that's basically all we knew about. Like, we have Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, which I'm excited for that. I like Luigi's Mansion 3 a lot, but it's like, all right, well, like, are we just like in the phase where we're like kind of mopping up any like older games that we want to remake or remaster for Switch that aren't there? Like Mario versus Donkey Kong, that was another one that came out this year, and it's like, okay, so that's the phase of this console that we're in. And I mean, so we still got some of that in this, but like, man, I did not expect to get a new 2D Zelda, a new Mario and Luigi game, like
Mario Party game,
new
like
Mario Party game.
that's something I think would have came out with Switch 2, right? Like it just
Yeah.
makes sense to kind of hold that off. But again, I think this is reiterating, sorry, their commitment to having the Switch continue its life cycle alongside the Switch 2.
Mm.
Which is insane to think. Like this is such an old console that is still kicking and putting out hits, and the fact that they're so confident in that by saying like, yeah, you're getting a new Mario Party game, you're getting a new Zelda game, even though we have this other console that are already in devs' hands and they're
Yeah.
playing with.
God, I'm so excited for Switch 2, but also like I saw so another I need to write down who says these things on Twitter, but like somebody was like Nintendo just quietly got the best holiday lineup of the year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's like, what are the
absolutely.
odds of that? Like, nobody saw that coming. I don't think. Like, this is kind of a quieter year for gaming in general. Like, there's no Tears of the Kingdom or Baldur's Gate 3 or Elden Ring. I mean, aside from the DLC that just hit this week, but Nintendo just kind of took the pole position for like the most games that I really am interested in coming out this holiday season.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like I was wondering what would be Nintendo's holiday season because they usually go really strong with that. And in bundles, right? Like I'm thinking bundles. What would be in a Switch bundle for the holidays? And it's like Zelda,
Yeah,
like
what more could you want?
like, right? So it delivered on all fronts for me, and I think there are things in there that's getting a lot of fans excited. Yes, for the holiday season, but also putting more confidence in what is planned once they finally do announce the new console.
Hmm. So here's how the people on Twitter voted. A was the overwhelming majority, 61.3%. B was second place, 28.3%. C, third place, 8.1%. And D, 2.3%. And very similar results over on Threads, but it was actually even distribution between C and D. I think they both had 8%. But other than that, it was pretty close to the numbers that were on Twitter. So it seems like a lot of people are pretty hyped on this. Also, where would you rank Nintendo's summer showcase over like the other heavy hitters? So we had like the PlayStation State of Play a few weeks ago. During Summer Game Fest timeframe, we had the SGF live stream. We had the Xbox Game Showcase, Ubisoft Forward, lots of stuff to choose from. Is Nintendo Direct your top pick out of those?
Hey, like I said off the top, Nintendo was really in the corner watching SGF, the Xbox showcase, and was like, here, hold my drink. I need to talk for a minute, and then dropped all this crazy news. And I'm really like, they have a new console coming out. Like, this just reiterates that it's like, hey, like, we understand, like, it's kind of been quiet. Last year was an amazing year for games. But we have something cooking and brewing, and you know what? We're gonna give you this other stuff too that we've just been casually working on, and they're new games for these iconic IPs that they have, right? So it just
Yeah.
also, I think what and they provided mostly dates for a lot of the games that they showcased,
There's a few
right?
2025s, but outside
There's
of
a
that, it
few,
was
but
almost, I mean, there were a decent amount of like third party things that were like
yes,
coming this winter, but
yeah.
like they don't have control over that.
No, they don't, right? But like, I mean, I can't argue that. Like, I'm not going to argue with someone who wants to choose maybe the Xbox Showcase, which was a very strong showing, by the
Yeah, I
way.
think that's a
Like,
solid number two.
it would for you, the
Yeah, I think
Nintendo.
I think Nintendo Direct was number one
Yeah, oh
easily for
yes,
me.
yeah, and I think the Xbox Showcase, like, it was almost right, like it was almost pretty even there. But the fact that they showed this game that's been so highly anticipated and ended the showcase with gameplay of it and giving us a name and giving it to us like next year, not
Hmm.
just how the Xbox Showcase ended with Gears, like that's cool, but we still don't know Gears when. You
Yeah,
know what
when
I
when are
mean?
we gonna have that? Yeah,
It was very like, I feel like Nintendo took the approach as like, we have these things cooking and we're giving you as close of days as we can for this stuff, and we're not showing you anything that's outside of the window of 2025.
yeah, and I think that's very smart. Again, like I said, like I think a lot of platform holders in particular have learned that hard lesson because like what was it, like 2015, I think, where we got like so many amazing
Yeah.
announcements and it was like these are not seeing the light of day for at least the next 5 years. Like Final Fantasy VII remake was announced at E3 2015.
Yeah.
We didn't see that till 2020.
Yeah. And I know like the Xbox Showcase gave us Perfect Dark, which was I was anticipating, but again, we don't know when.
Hmm.
Right? Metroid, we know 2025, right? So it's like you
Yeah.
gotta, I kind of look at it with like, yeah, the hype train as you're living in the moment, but then you take that step back and you're like, okay, what do we know about these games? And it's like, oh, actually, we know quite a bit of dates.
Yeah. So I would put Nintendo Direct number one pretty easily. Xbox Game Showcase number two pretty easily.
Hmm.
Then it gets a little murkier. I think maybe the Summer Game Fest stream
Oh, really?
would be number three for me. Although the PlayStation State of Play did give us
Astrobot.
Astrobot. God, that is one of my favorite games of the generation, unironically.
and
Um,
and like the because of
mm,
what Astrobot is and how Astrobot was introduced as like this homage to PlayStation and what they seem to be tying in with that game here. Also, like, with the Horizon, the Lego Horizon game, like it opens your eyes to the possibility, are they going to do this with some of their other IPs, is like God of War? That would be hilarious, seeing like Kratos be just funny and or be so straight faced, and then like you have Atreus like just there providing more humor. Like it gives you possibilities where I think Summer Game Fest, I'm like, it was good, but it was kind of long. Like I feel like when you
yeah,
look at the pacing of the top three showcases or the top two showcases, the pacing was just right for both the Direct and the Xbox Showcase. When I looked at the PlayStation Showcase, it was there were some moments that like kind of lost my interest just because those games weren't for me. But for the most part, it wasn't anything where I was like, okay, this needs to wrap up now.
Yeah.
Whereas
It's
Summer
also a
Game
lot
Fest,
quicker though.
exactly. But like
Yeah.
Summer Game Fest, there were a little bit of those games where I was just like, ooh, okay, there's a lot of this is going on for a little too long.
Yeah, and I don't mean to like crap on Ubisoft Forward because I'm extreme. Like two of
Oh
my most
yes.
anticipated games of the rest of the year are Assassin's Creed Shadows and Star Wars Outlaws.
Mhm.
You know, I went to freaking Malmo, Sweden to play Star Wars Outlaws, and Assassin's Creed Shadows. I
That
lost my
looks so good.
mind during like the behind closed doors demo that I saw. It was not as dense with like games that I'm excited about as these other things are. So it's kind of like an apples and orange comparison there.